Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask Dr. Be Good show, the show where we bring you the interesting and fascinating things going on in public education, especially during this COVID period where things have never been more fascinating or more interesting. And so we have talked to parents about their home environments. We've talked to content teachers about their home environments. Now it's time to sort of turn and look at our elective teachers. And certainly we just brought in a handful. We have many more that have very interesting stories also to share, and we'll try to get to them in the next few weeks as well. But for now, we're going to ask them to go around and introduce themselves first and tell us their names and what their content, their elective area is, and what school they're from.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Burns, and I'm from Mesquite West. I teach theater, secondary, and commercial photography.
I'm Erin Ottman. I am at Legacy Plano, and I teach K-5 music.
I'm Coach Sheldon Denson. I'm the athletic director for Legacy Preparatory at the Mesquite High School.
Hi, I'm Andrew Smathers. I teach secondary music and theater, 6th through 12th grade at Legacy Plano.
Okay, Courtney Gallegos. I teach secondary art education. I also do wellness, journalism, and yearbook class.
Oh, thank you for joining us, and I'm sure you're going to help us understand those lines on your faces. Yeah. All right, so thank you for being here. And let's start off with, let's put ourselves back in spring break, right? We're in spring break. We innocently go into spring break. We've already started hearing some stuff, but never in our imagination did we think anything until about, at least for me, Wednesday or Thursday. Well, no, Wednesday, certainly. By Wednesday, it was coming down hard and heavy. By Thursday, we had to declare that we were being closed for the next week. And we had to start preparing to open, you know, my hashtag is hashtag closed, but closed, not closed, to be able to feed the kids and come up with some kind of instructional plan. Who can tell me, what were you thinking that spring break? As word was getting to you, maybe your rumors or your directors were texting you guys to say, hey, stay close. Anybody have I remember what I was thinking moment during spring break?
Well, I do. I was thinking about, of course, first of all, my students. I was thinking, how are we going to connect with theater, and how's that going to look? But then I realized we are NTN and we're online, so it wasn't hard to do it all.
Okay, Ms. Gallegos, your head is shaking.
Yeah, I remember my sister texting me a lot, and she was just like, hey, I got Plano ISD closing down. I got Dallas ISD closing down. I got Allen, like your school's going to close. And I was like, I haven't heard anything. Like, they're not saying it's bad. And then, you know, the next day, May's texting us and she's like, hey, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I spent the next like 12 hours converting my dining room into like essentially like a little art studio. So it was just very stressful, but like motivating and lots of different big emotions.
And I think that's a really good way of describing it, big emotions. You know, for a minute you're going, oh no, and for the other minute it's got the creative juices going, and you're thinking, if not this, then what, right? So, I would think for the content elective teachers especially, you artsy folks, yeah, I bet, ooh, lots of things going off, right?
Sure.
And so once school was closed, we were supposed to be closed for 1 week. Then what happened? Then all of a sudden, they're telling us at least till April 4th. And that's a whole different ballgame. that's when we started talking about deployment of computers, low tech, high tech, which was packets versus online instruction. So, you know, what went through your mind when you knew that this was in it for the long term?
Well, for me, the first thing, as Ms. Burns said, was the theater class. Before spring break, was in the middle of working on a play. So you have these 8 kids. This was a small class, and they were going to do a play together. And so all of a sudden, it's like, well, we're going to need to put a hard stop on this and figure out, you know, a completely reworked system for learning how to do theater. And also, for me in the beginning that week, I know myself, I was doing a lot of laying the groundwork for the academic subjects as well, as we were looking at that. For just that first week, we were like doing a lot of helping the language arts and math do some of their groundwork, because that is the, or that started out as the priority. And now we're kind of just focusing on getting everything out.
Well, you're right about that. You, because we thought we'd only be closed a week at first, I could very much see where the attention would go to the content areas. But as I've been heard to say, for some kids, math isn't the reason they come to school. It's the art teacher, it's the drama teacher, it's the photography teacher, right? And so that's, once we knew, and we knew by what, the middle of that first week closed, that we were going to be closed longer. And that's one good thing I've got to say. Well, I've had a lot of good things to say about the TEA and the commissioner, which is nice to be able to say, but they were very quick in doing things like saying that we weren't going to have to take STAR and that we could feed kids 7 days a week and so forth. So there were lots of positive things coming out quickly so that we weren't left trying to figure out at the last moment, sort of after the first time, whether we were going to be closed at least for a month. So now here we are, we're in the middle of our first week closed. You're helping content area. We find out that we're actually going to be closed for much longer. How did you guys all go about trying to figure out how to carve out your time, right? Because we can't have kids sitting in front of a laptop for 8 hours. So who can tell me, how did that process happen of figuring out how to do your particular content area?
For me, I spent a lot of that first week we were off, not spring break, but the week after. I recorded, I think, 80 videos to upload to YouTube.
Wow.
And that was just, I did that because I wanted to get as much of the content I was doing in class on YouTube. So if, you know, at that point we weren't doing live online lessons. So I was thinking, okay, well, I can send these links out to parents. I can say, hey, have your child watch these 3 videos, you know, this week. And that way it was more of like a low key type of enrichment they could still have at home without there being a lot of demanding things from me, the music teacher. So that was hard. And the hardest thing I think for me also was trying to create paperwork for the kids. That I do 0 paper in my classroom. I am all hands-on. We sing, we dance, we play, and I spent so much time that week along with the videos trying to think of these interesting things to do on paper so the kids who did not have technology at the time were still able to have some music enrichment. So that was definitely a struggle at the beginning.
Okay, somebody else? Mr. Coach Denson?
Yes. What I did, I implemented a lot of things for my students. Most of what our students are scholars. They love seeing the coaches doing activity first. And so I presented with our kids what I was doing and Coach Williams and the other coaches on our campus was doing. We put up a video and we let them see what we doing. They loved it. They loved it. if they see what we doing, that's just motivation for them. And before all this had transpired, kids was calling me, asking coach, oh, we go be out of school, we gonna miss PE, we gonna miss playing around in the gym and having fun, but working at the same time. But I love what they're doing right now, because every day I have in my email box, they always say, Coach, we're ready to come back to school, we're ready to run. And then my response to them, well, you didn't want to run when we was here, so what's the difference now? I appreciate it.
That's cute. Well, and so what kind of activities are you having the kids do for PE?
The things that I'm having is, am I mute?
No, you're good. No, now you're mute.
All right.
Yeah.
The things that I'm having with the kids to do, it's very simple. Meaning we're doing push-ups, sit-ups, squats, jogging, and I'm not having the kids run the mile because it's not gonna help them one bit doing it. I'm not sure to see it, but they are recording there and doing videos sitting back next to me once a week. That's how I do it. It's helped them because it's getting the motivation to do what they're doing. And I also do it myself, me as a coach, is helping them out doing it. But that's what we do. We do a lot of push-ups, a lot of sit-ups, the main core exercises, jumping jacks.
Okay, you probably need to send that out to teachers, you know.
Yeah.
I've got to confess, I'm not, you know, I was going to the gym 5 or 6 times a week, personal trainer, and now that that's all gone, it's me, and I'm not as strong on me as my coach was on me, and that's, oof, he's going to have to build me back up when this is all over. So how do you actually teach online? Like Miss Burns, what your photography, your drama, what are you doing with them?
So photography was my scary area because the students did not have the cameras in their hands. And I was very concerned with that. I got online immediately with some of my international friends and global friends and the Dallas-Fort Worth area photographers and said, okay, what are we doing? Where are we at? And I'm telling you, we have such a tight-knit group on Facebook with the photography world that the lessons just started flowing. We all started sharing. So one of the things that we have to do to meet our TEKs is to create their website. And we had been just started working on that. So this gave me the time now to not worry so much about the cameras because they did have their pictures that they were taking beforehand. And we started implementing the different sites on the website, landscape, portraits. And so I started teaching them how to set that up in their portfolios and in their website. So that's where we're at with photography. And saying that, they are so ready for their cameras and to be back with me. And I really miss those kids. They just love photography. But we're managing, they're managing, and we are teaching through our websites. We're teaching with groups. It's just okay. It's really okay. Theater has been my challenge, I believe, because we were at the part to where we were going to start acting. The kids had been creative writing a couple of pieces. So they started, we started a unit called Superheroes. And so I thought it would be great for now with the superhero unit and to go into from superhero unit to hero unit and to connect with the real world situation that's going on right now. So what we did is we studied the beginning time in the United States contribution of heroes, superheroes, and literature. And then we went to, and we're going to then and now in real life. And so our kids are loving that because they're seeing all these heroes everywhere, right? The nurses, the janitors. Right now we're working on a thank you video for our school and all the kids are involved. They're creating videos and we're going to put those videos together. Was hoping to have that for you today so you could see it, but it's going to be probably the end of the week. And a lot of things are going on that working with video that they love, that they're doing well with. So it was scary at first, but now it's getting easier.
So Ms. Gallegos, talk to us about what does secondary art look like?
So at first, me and Miss Kenny, the secondary English teacher, we were going to make a propaganda cross-curricular activity before break started. So we went ahead and pushed through with that. So I worked a lot with English teachers, a lot of terms, and trying to intertangle them in art to where they made sense. So for propaganda, I used a lot of literary devices to explain what propaganda. Sorry, my cat's like wrestling. We used a lot of term. Okay, we used a lot of terminology to understand how people persuaded others, and how imagery and fonts and different kinds of fonts can really help kind of understand the language and the tone that you want to do. So it's a lot of step-by-step PowerPoints at the beginning, just to kind of get the kids online to understand. I mean, because I can't be there, we weren't doing live classes at this time, so very detailed PowerPoints. Now with live lessons, as you can see, we were learning facial proportions. So I was gonna like model, and we were gonna practice the angles and understand, like my eyes aren't even, so that was nice to understand this morning. But just kind of understanding that we're not all perfect, and even though we have these guidelines, and understanding modeling from a live perspective. So sorry, lots to answer in that question.
That's okay. Mr. Smathers.
Right. So as I teach music and theater, I'll start with music. So the first thing that I wanted to do was try to recreate exactly what we were doing in class as best as I could. So I have a video channel here.
Hey guys, Mr. Smathers here. I hope you all have had a fantastic spring break, and I hope all of you are well and healthy and staying inside and washing your hands and all of that stuff. We are going to do some sight reading today, as you can see, and the first thing that we're going to do is go over some of our fundamentals from before the break. So I have solfege hand signs for you here up on the screen. Remember, we're going to do those starting down here around our belly button, and then as we walk up the scale, you keep moving your hand up, and so that high do is all the way up here, and low do is all the way down here. If a note goes below low do, remember it's going to be low T down below, like that.
And that is something that I already had, was a little broadcasting software that you would use. I mean, people typically use it to stream games and such, but it happens to be able to kind of put pictures up on the screen. So I found a picture of the solfege hand signs, which is a tool that I already use to teach them their notes, really. And then I put that on the screen, and I have a little rainbow background, and then I have a thing that I can scroll, which was actually just from my monitor, and it has exactly the same sight reading examples that we were using in class, and that comes from the 90 Days to Sight Reading Success book, which is highly reviewed and a really positive tool that we've already been using. So I was able to make a video that kind of created that same experience that I was already doing. in theater. Do what?
Is that the video you brought with you today?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's called Sight Reading Sing Along, and I made 4 of those to start off with. In theater, like I said, I immediately scrapped the play that my small class was doing. We started on a monologue unit, which is like a classic theater thing. They have really taken to it. There was a critical moment for that class, and that moment was sort of getting in touch with all of them personally, where I was, in a video call and saying, here's what you're going to do, here's the monologue, here's how the character works. And after that, I think they were all hooked on it. In addition,
How receptive were they all to all of this?
To start off with, not very, I'd say, especially the older they got, the longer it took me to get in touch with them and to get them involved. And I still have a couple that I just haven't gotten in touch with. But the ones that I have gotten, the connection was right away. As soon as I talked to them, it was a huge connective moment.
Good. So speaking of attendance, Coach Denson, what is your attendance like?
My attendance is roughly around about 90%. What I have learned and engaged with our kids that do not want to do the same thing. It's repetitive. They don't want to do it the same thing. So what myself and Mr. Shapiro came up with was we did a scavenger hunt. The first three people they bring in, they go outside, bring a rock that's shaped like a heart or a circle or something like that. We did something like that. We did like 5 episodes of that. Rock, leaf, a stem branch, just bring it in. Whoever brought it in, they videotaped it for me and sent it through Echo my submission. So that's how I made it fun, because they don't want to do the same. They don't want to do workout every single day, and I give them an opportunity. And so that's what we have come up with, and it's been effective with it so far. The next student, I always call my parents. I try to call them at least once a day. I don't really call them twice a day. I use the one statement method and call my parents or call the child that I have a relationship with. 9 out of 10, they will get on after I call them. So I haven't had a big relapse of a bad actions, like that. 90 to 92%.
Cool. Ms. Gallego, what's your attendance like?
I'll split it up into middle and high school. Middle school, it's, I want to say about 80%. High school, I want to say it's about 60, 70%. My high school classes are a lot smaller than my middle school. And I know a few of my high school kids also do have essential jobs at grocery stores and stuff. So I do understand and want to work around that. But yeah, I just worry about them. If I haven't seen anything turned in, if I haven't made contact with them, I know we're all really worried about that when they don't contact.
That's my understanding that we have really gone out of our way to touch base with every student. I know, Coach Denson, weren't you part of a team that went out with Mr. Chaparro and touch base with kids that we hadn't heard from?
Yes, we did. We did do that. Myself, this is a whole team member that work at the school, at the high school. We did touch bases with our parents and the kids as well. Some of them we did reach, and some of them we didn't. But the good part about it is once we contact them at their home, and once we reside with their parents, they to call back. So that's a luxury. It was good.
Yeah.
It's all a team collaboration for us to do that.
And so I know that at Plano, the counselor, Ms. Schlomowitz, Ms. May, they've all been, beating the bushes to get those last few to respond, because especially for high school, this involves credit. I mean, we can't play with credit. And so when the state told us early on, oh, make an attempt, we'll still pay you, make an attempt. Oh, no. These kids have to be able to have some mastery of their TEKS so we can feel good about making sure they go on to the next grade and, can make a good attempt there of passing that grade. So I'm very proud of all of our teachers and the effort, teachers and administrators and counselors, all of them. I don't want to leave anybody out, but that we have been having tribunals for kids. We've had 10 or 12 tribunals already in the last couple of weeks for those families that have high attendance issues, because we cannot, in all good conscience, pass them on to the next grade without them making an attempt to master these TEKS. And Ms. Gallegos, that's for credit. Your high school is for credit. So if they don't pass it, they'll have to take it again if they need it. So we understand that the onus is on us. The burden is on us, but we're happy to do it, and we're using every tool at our disposal to do that. So as always, we run out of time, and we have a few minutes, but I want to get to my question. I have two questions. One is, what are you doing differently now in week 5 than you did in week 1? That's one question. And then what skills, practices have you learned during this time that you will bring with you into the new school year? So think about which question you want to answer.
Answer the first one.
Okay.
So I think the biggest challenge, first of all, when I was making the lessons and doing the videos and uploading things to Google Classroom, my biggest concern was making sure that my K-5 students could navigate Google Classroom, because that is a tool that we do not use in elementary school. We don't use Echo, and they're not familiar with that platform. So my biggest concern was K-2, because I know that a lot of them heavily rely on their parents to be there to help navigate. And I know that a lot of my students have parents who are out of the house, or they have an older sibling taking care of them, which also means that they're doing their online work, or they only have one computer. So there was a lot of things going through my mind that I wanted to make sure that, like I said earlier, everything was pretty low key, just kind of like do it as you can. And then the exciting thing was that we were finally doing online lessons, and we got a schedule together. The specials teachers met together for Plano, and we got a schedule that made sense. And so now we're doing live lessons, and I have 2 videos. So the first one would be the kindergarten video. And this is the last page. Who remembers, why do you think that the illustrator, or the person who drew the pictures for the book, why do you think the illustrator put a picture of the little girl sleeping? What do you think that means? Based on all the things that we saw, what do you think that means? Malaysia.
She had a dream.
She had a dream. That's right. Because all of these very funny things that she sees, like the bat with some butter and some fat, and a little mouse named Pete, and the crow with the kitty cat, and what was the other funny thing she saw? Oh yeah, the honeybee with a fiddle on his knee. I don't know, do you think those things are real? No, probably not. So she was dreaming all of those things, and all of those things that she saw were actually in her room. So she has her kitty cat, and she has the bats up here, and then the mouse. So yeah, that's why she's dreaming. We end every lesson with a song tale, and a song tale is a story that's sung. And the curriculum that I use, they print picture books that go along with those song tales. So at the end of every single lesson, we always have the song tale. So at the end of that particular song tale, there is a picture at the end of a little girl sleeping. So I always ask, and I want them to make sure they're paying attention. I want them to make sure they're listening to the story. So I always ask, why do you think that's the last picture? So I want them to use their inference skills. I want them to think about the book that we just read, the pictures that we just saw, and I want them to say, I don't know, why is that there? So I always try to do some sort of cross-curricular, even if it's just like little pieces like that. And then my next video is of first grade. Anybody want to have a solo? Oh, all right. I see. Oh, wow. I see a lot of friends. Okay. Emma, I saw your hand first, so you can unmute yourself, and then we'll have Adrian, and then Lily and Lucas. All right, Emma, you ready? Go.
Peep squirrel, diddle-um, 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 peep squirrel, diddle-um, diddle-um, dum.
And everybody clap, 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 because that was awesome. Great job, Emma. And for first grade, they K-2 do a lot of solo work, so they're singing by themselves. And over Google Meets, I was kind of worried about that because I wanted them to still feel confident. And that age level is really great because they are not embarrassed to sing in front of each other, which is really great because it gives me an opportunity to build that confidence up. So when they get to 5th grade, they're still not embarrassed to sing in front of their peers. And so over Google Meets, it actually works quite well because I just say, okay, so we're going to start with, Billy, and then everybody else is going to mute. And they're really good about muting themselves. Like they learned that very quickly. They're like little sponges. So I'm really proud of my students, especially my younger students, just because I know that this is not easy for them to do because they're so reliant on their parents or their older siblings, and they just have taken it and ran with it. So it makes my job so much easier. And so much more rewarding. I'm glad that I'm able to do what I do over Google Meets.
So we only have a couple minutes left. So I'm going to go around, I'm going to call a name and tell me what skill or practice have you learned during this time that you weren't doing before, but then definitely want to keep doing when you get back in the fall in a face-to-face environment. And I'll do it on the order of my screen. So Ms. Burns.
I've been seeing a lot of, I'm learning a lot of online, like Google, even Zoom. I mean, just to be honest with you, I wasn't connected to Zoom. Of course, a lot of the other apps do similar that we use. One of the things I really like is some of the photography sites that I have had to search for that allows the kids to print or to get on and edit and stuff that I did not know was there. So those are definitely going back with me and my students. My students already have those in hand. And yeah, that's a lot of technology, still learning.
Sure. Ms. Gallegos?
Yeah, so I've learned to simplify projects, but to also use PowerPoints in a different way. So I can like embed YouTube and I can make them start and stop at a certain time and then say only concentrate on that 1 minute of video. And then the next slide is the next minute of the video. So it's like I'm chunking it for them. I'm also explaining it, and then I'll put it's overkill on videos, but then I'll make a little video of myself like I am in class and like a Muppet explaining things and putting my personality into it. Hopefully I won't have to do that back in the class, but chunking it and embedding it, more technology than anything. So
Thank you. Mr. Smathers?
Great. So obviously I will echo that we have all gotten a lot more familiar with technologies. So that is a really big thing, but sorry. For me as a teacher, I've actually thought a lot about, we talk about scaffolding a lot and breaking lessons down to their core pieces. And I think before I was really depending on myself to kind of give connective material to students and kind of maybe a simple direction here and there, and then I would depend on me to get them to the finish line. But I've done a lot of thinking about breaking down that scaffolding down to the very smallest pieces and how I can deliver that to the students directly without verbal instruction. I think that will really affect my teaching going forward.
Thank you. Lifelong learners, right? Coach Denson, real fast. What are you doing now that you're going to take with you?
I am taking with me is be more visual with our kids. Just talking to them and just asking them to do stuff, it's not gonna get it. You have to be visual and be appointed with them. I always teach my kids accountability is always equal to responsibility. So mine is more visual because this is my first time ever using Echo. And some of my kids I had to ask, be honest, I had to ask some of my kids and Matt and Mr. Chacon how to work the system. And I had several students to come and say, Coach, this is how you do this. They even called me on my cell phone and told me how to work. But that's more, just be more visual and be patient with the kids.
Good. Real fast, Miss Ottman.
Fast. This is just like a face value thing. I love that I know how to work Google Classroom now. I love that I have made all these videos on YouTube because if I am absent for whatever reason, I know that my kids will know exactly how to access my Google Classroom, and I can leave my videos up there for the sub. I can make a little playlist, and it'd be so simple because I go to my conferences or I have doctor's appointments. I have a wedding that I have in October and I know I have all these things that I'm not going to be at school for. So now that I have that tool, I feel so much better about leaving my scholars with a substitute. So.
Well, okay. Well, again, like I said, in the podcast world, 30 minutes feels like 5, and I think it did for me, at least, in hearing your stories. Thank you so much. Keep doing the good work, and I know that parents who hear this will be so glad to hear how much you guys have grown and how much kids are enjoying your work. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Dr. Be Good show. For more information on Legacy Preparatory Charter Schools, visit our website, legacypca.com, or call 469-249-1099. And remember to like us on Facebook, where we stream live weekly Tuesdays at 3 p.m.